All right, so you ever hear that saying about how blood's thicker than water? Yeah, well, apparently it's also more expensive than a month's worth of groceries at Whole Foods. But I'm getting way ahead of myself here. Let me rewind and tell you this crazy story about how I went from crashing on my own daughter's couch to literally becoming her landlord. And not in a good way. So, there's this guy, right? Name's Robert Martinez, but everybody calls him Bobby. 62 years old, spent his whole life swinging hammers and building stuff until his back basically tapped out about 3 years back. That's when his whole world started falling apart like a house of cards in a windstorm. Picture this. It's March 2023, middle of the afternoon in Queens, New York. Bobby's standing in his daughter Jessica's kitchen, you know, one of those older apartment buildings with the hardwood floors that creak when you walk and radiators that clang all night. Yeah, that kind of place. Nothing fancy, but it's got that classic New York vibe going for it. Now, Bobby's been bunking there with Jessica and her fiancé Marcus for about 4 months at this point. See, after he messed up his back on a job site, the medical bills just kept piling up and up. Lost his apartment, drained his savings, basically watching his entire life circle the drain. The only thing he had left was his pride, and honestly, that was hanging on by a thread. So, Jessica's in the kitchen, and Bobby can tell something's off. She's got this look on her face, the same guilty expression she had when she was 7 and accidentally killed her class hamster while pet sitting. You know that look? All nervous energy, can't make eye contact, fidgeting with her engagement ring like it's about to fly off her finger. "Dad," she starts, still not looking at him. "We need to talk." And man, those 4 words, right? Has anything good ever followed "we need to talk"? Ever. In the history of humanity. Bobby sure doesn't think so. Marcus is posted up behind her with his arms crossed, looking all serious. Now, let me tell you about this Marcus character. Dude works in finance, wears those fancy designer sneakers that probably cost more than Bobby's disability check, and get this, he's got opinions about which brand of water tastes the best. Yeah, that kind of guy. "What's going on, sweetheart?" Bobby asks, setting down his coffee mug. Jessica takes this deep breath, like she's about to jump into cold water. "Dad, you know we love you, right? And we've been super happy to help you get back on your feet. But," Bobby cuts in, because come on, there's always a but, right? "But Marcus and I are trying to start our own life together. We're getting married in a few months and..." She just trails off. Can't finish the sentence. And then Marcus, of course it's Marcus, jumps right in. What Jessica is trying to say is that we can't afford to support an extra mouth anymore. We're trying to save for the wedding, make down payments on stuff, you know, build our future together. Extra mouth. This man actually said extra mouth. Like Bobby's some stray dog they've been tossing scraps to out of the goodness of their hearts? "An extra mouth," Bobby repeats, real slow. And you can tell those words are just sitting bitter on his tongue. "I've been chipping in for groceries. I fixed your leaky sink last week, remember? Patched up that massive hole in the drywall? Repainted a whole bathroom." "Dad, that's not the same as paying rent," Jessica says quietly, still not meeting his eyes. "We're shelling out $2,400 a month for this place. And honestly, it's tight. Like really tight." Here's the thing that really twisted the knife for Bobby. He'd been out there pounding the pavement every single day, looking for work, any work. But who's trying to hire a 62-year-old guy with a busted back? He'd applied to be a greeter at Walmart, for crying out loud, a security guard at a shopping mall, anything he could physically do. But his phone stayed silent. "How long do I have?" he asks, and his voice cracks just a little bit. Jessica still won't look at him. "And in a month?" 2 weeks. Bobby had exactly 2 weeks to figure out where a broke, disabled old man with no family besides his ungrateful daughter was supposed to go in New York City. Good luck with that, right? Right, he says, standing up. He heads over to this little corner of the living room where he's been sleeping. And get this, they even didn't let him use the second bedroom because Marcus needs it for his home office. And he can hear Jessica start crying behind him. And Marcus is there comforting her. Comforting her! Like she's the one getting thrown out on the street.
So the next 2 weeks, absolute hell. Bobby's calling every shelter in Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, all of them full. Wait lists a mile long. He hits up old work buddies from back in the day, but most of them are either broke themselves or moved down to Florida or whatever. He's packing up his life, which all fits into 2 duffel bags and a backpack. That's what decades of hard work had gotten him. When his phone rings, it's his old buddy Frank. Now, Frank and Bobby go way back. They worked construction together for like 25 years before Frank got smart, took some courses, and became a building inspector. These days, he's semi-retired, does some property management stuff on the side. Bobby, how the hell are you, man? Frank's voice sounds like somebody gargling gravel, but it's the warmest thing Bobby's heard in weeks. Been better, Frank. Been a whole lot worse too, I guess. Listen, I heard through the grapevine you were going through a rough patch. You need a place to crash or what? Bobby almost loses it right there. 62-year-old construction worker damn near breaks down crying on the phone. Frank, yeah, man, I really do. Say no more, brother. I got this studio apartment in Astoria. Tenant just bounced last week. It ain't the Ritz or nothing, but it's yours rent-free until you get sorted out. And Bobby, I might have some light property management work for you too. Nothing that's gonna kill your back, just checking on buildings, coordinating with repair guys, that kind of thing. It was like somebody upstairs finally decided to throw him a lifeline. So a week later, Bobby's moving into Frank's studio, which is actually pretty decent, and then knocking back some beers while Frank's telling him about this property management gig. So check this out, Frank says, pulling out his phone. There's this building in Queens, and the owner's trying to sell it. Been on the market for like 6 months. Most of the units are rent controlled, which freaks out all the big investors, but structurally, building's solid. I inspected it myself. He shows Bobby the pictures on his phone, and Bobby's heart literally stops. It's Jessica's building. The exact same building she just kicked him out of. This place, Bobby says, trying real hard to keep his voice casual. What are they asking for it? That's the crazy part, man. The owner inherited it from his folks, lives down in Florida now, just wants to unload it. He's asking $890,000, but between you and me, I bet he takes $750K easy. Building's got 8 units, all occupied, pulling in about $18,000 a month total. But like I said, most of them old rent-controlled tenants are paying peanuts. Bobby's mind is racing a mile a minute. He's got about $47,000 left from his injury settlement, money he's been hoarding like a dragon for emergencies. Plus, there's that other settlement check he never cashed, $125,000 from the construction company's insurance. He'd been dragging his feet on cashing it, some dumb pride thing about admitting he was really done working for good. Frank, Bobby says real slow, what if I wanted to buy it? Frank literally almost does a spit take with his beer. You? Bobby, no offense, bro, but you're living in my studio rent-free right now. I got money. Settlement for my injury. About $172K total if I cash that check I've been sitting on. Frank's eyes go wide. Jesus Christ, Bobby, why didn't you... You know what? Not my business, but that's still not enough for this building, man. You need at least 25% down, so like $190K minimum, plus all the closing clause and lawyer fees and all that crap. What if we partnered up? The idea's forming in his head as he's saying it. I throw in my money, you put in the rest, we split it down the middle. You said you've been looking for investment properties anyway. Frank strokes his beard, thinking it over. I do got about $300K I've been wanting to invest somewhere. Bobby, real talk. Is this about revenge? 'Cause I know that building, and I know your daughter's living there. Bobby takes a long pull of his beer. Frank, ever been called an extra mouth by your own kid? Frank just nods slowly. Say no more, brother, he says, raising his glass. Let's buy ourselves a damn building.
Turns out the owner was desperate as hell to sell. They snagged the building for $730,000. Between Bobby's $172K and Frank's $300K, plus a small mortgage to cover the rest, they closed the deal in 45 days flat. Frank handled most of the legal paperwork, which was a blessing in disguise, because Jessica had zero clue Bobby was involved in any of it. The LLC they set up had Frank's name plastered all over the official documents. During this whole time, Bobby doesn't contact Jessica even once. She tries calling him a few times at first, but he just lets it ring. Too angry, too hurt. And if we're being real, he's plotting his revenge. They close on July 15th. Bobby remembers the date because it's his late wife's birthday. She died 8 years back from cancer, and he's sitting there thinking she'd either be real proud of him or totally ashamed. He honestly can't tell which. So Bobby and Frank are sitting in this diner in Queens, all the papers signed, building officially theirs now. So what's the play here? Frank asks, dunking his toast in his eggs. We give everybody 30 days notice of a rent increase? Those rent-controlled folks we can't touch, but anyone who moved in after 2019, they're fair game. Bobby pulls out his phone, looks at Jessica's last text message. It just says, "Dad, please call me. I'm sorry. Can we talk?" That was from 3 weeks ago. He never responded. Let's check out the building's rent roll. I want to see exactly what everybody's paying. They go through the list. Most of the tenants are old school, rent controlled, paying like $800 to $1,100 for 2-bedroom apartments. And then Bobby finds it. Unit 4B, Marcus Chen and Jessica Martinez. Lease started July 2019. Current rent, $2,400 a month. July 2019. They just barely missed the rent control cutoff by a few months. They're wide open, man. No rent protection at all. We could legally bump them to $4K tomorrow if we wanted to. Bobby leans back in the booth, and this cold feeling washes over him. Right there in his hands is the power to make his daughter's life just as miserable as she made his. One signature on a rent increase notice, and he could watch them scramble the same way he scrambled. Watch them panic about money the same way he panicked about where the hell he was going to sleep. Let's do it, Bobby says. New rent, $9,600 a month. Frank literally chokes on his coffee. Bobby, what? That's insane, man. That's 4 times what they're paying now. Yeah, that's exactly the point, Frank. Bobby, listen to me, all right? I'm your boy, so I'm going to keep it real with you. That's not just revenge, man. That's straight up cruelty. And it's also dumb business. They can't afford that. Nobody can afford that. They're just going to bounce. And then you got an empty unit in a building that's barely turning a profit as it is. Good. Let them leave. Let them figure out where to go with 2 weeks' notice and no savings in the bank. Let them know exactly what it feels like. Frank leans back, studying him. You know what? You're my partner, so I'll back whatever move you want to make. But Bobby, you better be damn sure this is going to make you feel better. Because in my experience, this kind of revenge stuff usually just makes you feel like crap in the end.
So they send out the notice. Official letterhead from TG Property Management LLC. Rent increase to $9,600 a month, effective September 1st. 30 days notice, all legal and by the book. Bobby's imagining the phone call he's gonna get. Imagining Jessica freaking out, totally panicking, not knowing what the hell to do. Part of him feels satisfied, but part of him feels sick to his stomach. But the call never comes. A week goes by. Nothing. Radio silence. Bobby drives past the building once, telling himself he's just checking on the property, but really, he's hoping to see them hauling boxes out, looking all stressed and defeated. The windows of 4B are completely dark. Another week passes. Frank mentions that they haven't heard anything back from them at all, which is weird. Most tenants at least call to try and negotiate or complain or something. Maybe they already pieced out, Frank suggests. Maybe they had money saved up and just bounced to a new place. But something doesn't feel right to Bobby. Finally, he breaks down and drives to the building. It's a Saturday morning, late August, and he's still got keys, property manager perks. He lets himself in and just stands there in the lobby, staring at the mailbox for 4B. It's stuffed full. Nobody's grabbed their mail in at least a week, maybe longer. Bobby's heart starts pounding. Did something bad happen to her? He takes the stairs, elevator's busted, that's another thing on his to-fix list, and knocks on the door of 4B. Nothing. He knocks again, harder this time. "Jessica, it's Dad. I just need to know you're okay." Still nothing. He uses his master key and pushes the door open. The second he steps inside, he knows something's wrong. The apartment's empty, but not like normal they moved out empty, more like they left in a hurry empty. There's still furniture scattered around, still some clothes hanging in the closet, but it's got that abandoned feeling, you know? On the kitchen counter, there's an envelope addressed to TG Property Management LLC. Inside is a check for $2,400, 1 month's rent, and a note, "To whom it may concern. We received your rent increase notice. Unfortunately, we cannot afford the new rent and are breaking our lease effective immediately. Per our lease agreement, we forfeit our security deposit and final month's rent. We have moved out of state and will not be returning. Please send any final correspondence to my parents' address in Ohio. Jessica Martinez." Ohio. Her mom's family is from Ohio. She went to stay with her maternal grandparents, people who never liked Bobby, who he hasn't said 2 words to since the funeral. Bobby's standing there in that empty apartment, holding this note in his shaking hands, and it hits him. He won. He got exactly what he wanted. And it feels like somebody just sucker punched him in the gut. Bobby calls Jessica's number. Disconnected. He tries Marcus. Same thing. They completely ghosted him. Over the next month, Bobby tries everything he can think of. Calls her job. She quit. Reaches out to her friends on Facebook. None of them will respond. He even swallows his pride and tries calling her grandparents in Ohio. They hang up the second they hear his voice. September drags by. Then October. That studio Frank gave him starts feeling less like a blessing and more like a prison cell. And that building he bought, his big revenge move, it just reminds him every single day of what he did. Frank tries to help. "Bobby, maybe just give her some time, man. She'll cool off eventually." But Bobby knows his daughter. She's stubborn as hell. Gets it from him. When she cuts somebody out of her life, they stay cut out. It's November when Bobby gets the email. And it's not even from Jessica. It's from Marcus's mom, of all people. They'd only met once, briefly, at some holiday party. "Mr. Martinez, I hope this email finds you well. Marcus gave me your contact information some time ago. I'm writing to inform you that Jessica and Marcus were married on October 14th in a small ceremony here in Cleveland. Jessica specifically requested that you not be informed. But I've been a mother for 47 years, and I know something about regret. Whatever happened between you two, she's your daughter. She cried the whole morning before the wedding because you weren't there. I'm enclosing the address where they're currently staying. What you do with this information is up to you. Sincerely, Diane Chan. Bobby reads that email probably 50 times. She cried on her wedding day because of him. He stares at the address at the bottom. It's in Cleveland, some apartment complex. Frank finds him that night, just sitting in the dark, staring at his phone screen. I screwed up, Bobby says. Frank, I screwed up so bad, man. Yeah, Frank, you really did. I gotta fix this. You sure you even can? I have to try.
So Bobby drives to Cleveland. 13 hours straight through, only stopping for gas and coffee and bathroom breaks. It's early November and there's already snow on the ground out there in Ohio. He finds the apartment building. It's actually really nice. Newer construction, way nicer than the place in Queens. He sits in his truck for a whole hour, trying to figure out what the hell he's going to say. Finally, he works up the nerve and walks up to the building. Rings the bell for Unit 312. Who is it? Jessica's voice comes through the intercom. Bobby hasn't heard her voice in months. It's Dad. Long silence. So long that Bobby thinks she's just not going to respond at all. Then, go away. Jessica, please, I just need 5 minutes, that's all. You drove 13 hours. You can drive 13 hours back. I'm not leaving until we talk. I'll sleep in my truck out here if I have to. I'll stand out here in the snow. I really don't care. Another long pause. Then the door buzzes. Bobby takes the elevator up to the 3rd floor. They've got a working elevator here, fancy. And Jessica's standing in her doorway. She's wearing yoga pants and this oversized sweatshirt, hair thrown up in a messy bun. She looks good, healthy. But her eyes, they're ice cold. 5 minutes, she says, not even inviting him inside. I bought your building, back in Queens. I'm the one who raised your rent. It was me. Jessica's face goes through like 15 different emotions in 2 seconds flat. What? After you kicked me out, I used my settlement money and bought the building with Frank. I raised your rent to $9,600 a month to get revenge on you. I wanted to hurt you the same way you hurt me. Jessica just stares at him, and then she starts laughing. But it's not happy laughing. It's that kind of hysterical, can't believe this is real laughing. Oh my God, she says. Oh my God, Dad, you're telling me that we uprooted our entire lives. I quit my job. Marcus found a whole new position out here. We got married without you there. All of that happened because you wanted to get back at me? I'm sorry, Bobby says, and he really means it. Jessica, I am so sorry. I was hurt and angry, and I just wanted you to feel what I felt, and Do you even know why I asked you to leave? She interrupts him. Because I was an extra mouth to feed? Marcus said. Marcus is an idiot. And he said that without asking me first. And I cried for like an hour after you left because it came out all wrong. That's not what I meant at all. She steps back, finally letting him inside. The apartment's half unpacked, moving boxes stacked everywhere. Sit down, she orders, pointing at the couch. Bobby sits. Jessica takes a deep breath. Dad, back in March, I found out I was pregnant. I'm 9 months along now. Baby's due any day. Bobby's brain completely short circuits. You're... what? Pregnant. I was gonna tell you, but then I miscarried at 8 weeks. I was devastated, Dad. Completely destroyed. And Marcus and I decided we wanted to try again, but for real this time. I'd been having all these hormonal issues, and the doctor said I needed to reduce my stress levels, eat better, get expensive prenatal care, the whole 9 yards. So when you said you couldn't afford an extra mouth, I meant the baby I was trying to have. Dad, I wasn't kicking you out because you were a burden on us. I was asking you to find somewhere else to stay because Marcus and I needed to focus on getting pregnant again and making space, physically and financially, for a baby. Do you have any idea how expensive fertility treatments are? My insurance barely covered anything. Bobby feels like the world's biggest idiot. Why didn't you just tell me all this? Because I just miscarried. I couldn't even say the word pregnant out loud without breaking down crying. And then you got so hurt and angry and you stopped peeping up your phone, and I thought you hated me, Dad. I could never hate you, Bobby says, and now he's crying too. Sweetheart, I am so sorry. I should have asked more questions. I should have listened better. You should have answered your damn phone when I called, she says, wiping her eyes. But I also should have been way clearer about what was going on. And Marcus definitely should have kept his mouth shut. We both messed up here, Dad. Both of us. They sit there for a minute, both of them crying. Both of them realizing just how stupid they've been. So you're really... Bobby gestures at her stomach, which he can now see is definitely showing under that baggy sweatshirt. She laughs, a real laugh this time, and lifts up her sweatshirt. She's very, very pregnant. Due in 3 weeks. It's a girl. A girl. Bobby's gonna have a granddaughter. Were you really not gonna tell me? Ever? She looks down. I was so angry about the building thing, about feeling like you'd sabotaged us on purpose just to hurt us. But then Diane, Marcus's mom, she talked some sense into me, said that holding grudges and being angry are luxuries you can't afford when there's a baby coming, that kids need their grandparents in their lives, even the stubborn, stupid ones. I am pretty stupid, Bobby admits. The stupidest, she agrees, but you're still my dad. Marcus comes out of the bedroom right then, looking super nervous. Mr. Martinez, I didn't know you were coming by. Bobby stands up. Marcus, I owe you an apology too, man. I had no right to... Marcus holds up his hand. Sir, I called you an extra mouth. I was a total insensitive jerk, and I've regretted saying that every single day since. I never should have said it, and I should have stopped Jessica from asking you to leave when she was dealing with the miscarriage and everything. We both handled the whole situation really badly. Bobby nods. Fresh start? Fresh start, Marcus agrees. And they shake hands.
So that was a year ago now. Jessica and Marcus moved back to New York about 3 months after all that went down. Turns out Marcus hated Cleveland winters way more than he thought he would, and Jessica was homesick. They're living in the building again. Unit 4B. Same exact apartment. Rent's back down to $2,400. Bobby and Frank both agreed that was more than fair. Actually, Bobby waived the rent entirely for the first 6 months while they got resettled. Least he could do after everything. His granddaughter, Bobby, they named her after him, Roberta Bobby Chen Martinez, just turned 1 last month.
Bobby babysits 3 times a week now, and he's never been happier to be an extra mouth at family dinners. Frank and Bobby still on the building together. It's actually doing pretty okay. They got the elevator fixed, updated a bunch of the units, even managed to raise the rent on a few of the non-controlled apartments to reasonable market rates. They're not getting rich off it or anything, but it's a solid investment. Sometimes, Jessica and Bobby laugh about the whole crazy situation, how they both messed up so spectacularly, how pride and anger almost cost them everything, how Bobby spent 172,045 days plotting revenge that totally backfired in his face. But mostly, they don't really talk about it. Because what's the point, right? They lost almost a whole year of each other's lives. A year Bobby'll never get back. Time he should have spent helping her through her pregnancy, being there for her wedding. All of it. You can't buy back time. You can't undo stupid decisions once they're made. All you can do is learn from them and try to do better. And maybe, if you're really, really lucky, you get a second chance to make things right. So yeah, Bobby bought his daughter's building and raised her rent by 400% to get revenge on her. But the joke was on him the whole time. Because in the end, the only person he really hurt was himself. And little Bobby? That baby girl will never know how close she came to having a grandfather who wasn't in her life. Because Bobby and Jessica are going to make damn sure that this story has a way better ending than it almost did.